What's up guys, Silver here with another Halo Master Chief Collection Achievement Guide. This time we're doing part 2 of our Halo 4 LASO run. This is the level Requiem. So start it up, we're going to run in this direction, and there's some plasma grenades on the ground right here. We're going to pick those up. There's more ahead of us as well along the path we're going to take. So you can see there is a grunt who is crawling around. He is mortally wounded. We're going to smack him and put him out of his misery. And you don't need to do that, it's just for fun, but we're just going to keep moving along this path. And I'm going to skip ahead here, we're going to hop into a warthog. There's no enemies to worry about in the first couple minutes of this mission. You're just running through a bunch of wreckage. Get to this warthog, start driving, we'll drive through a bunch of wreckage, and then we'll come to the first area where there's actually enemies up ahead here. So I'll skip ahead to that. Once you can see this area start to open up ahead, you can see some phantoms in the distance. You'll see they're dropping off a bunch of enemy troops. We're just going to pull a Yui, just turn around, and we're going to drive back the way we came. And I'm not going to skip ahead for this part. I'm going to show you exactly where you need to go. We're basically just spawning in a bunch of enemies, and then we're going to go backwards and actually despawn them, and there's a very easy way to do that, and we could continue to do this for the first third or so of the mission. So we're just going to despawn a bunch of enemies. But go back here, you can see these 3 crates on the ground. That's kind of my landmark, knowing I'm almost there. Hop out, and you can see we can't get back over this gap with the warthog, but you can see this long, thin piece of wreckage, or debris, whatever you want to call it. I actually jump onto the right side of this thing, so instead of jumping on the center of it, you want to jump on the right side. That seems to be the more stable place to jump onto it from. So just kind of run, jump, and land on it like so, and then you can move upwards, just go straight, and then once you get up here, you have a bigger platform to walk around on, so it's not as harrowing. But you can see this panel on your right actually has no physics to it, so you can walk right through it. Walk through that, and then you can see the structure I'm shooting at. You want to jump on top of that. You can see I inched myself out a little bit before doing that as well, so I didn't hit my head on the structure above me. But you want to jump up here, and then you can see I moved backwards towards the beginning of the level, and that actually froze the game for a little bit. Just for a split second, then the game resumed. That means we hit the load zone that we wanted to hit to get this game to despawn the enemies. So we're going to drive back towards the area we came from, and we're going to find that there's no enemies anymore. All the enemies we spawned in are now gone forever, so we don't have to deal with them at all. I'm not sure if that freeze will ever go away with better and better hardware. I'm playing on an Xbox One X right now, so maybe the Series X will play well enough where you don't actually get that little pause indicating you've hit that load zone, but just go back about as far as I did, even a little further if you want to be safe, just to ensure you hit that load zone, and then come back and you'll see all the enemies are despawned. There's nobody here, but we're going to bail out at this point. There is going to be a concussion rifle wielding elite over here, but you can take him by surprise, so just get here as quickly as possible, and then he will spawn in, and you can wrap up around behind him and backsmack him for the quick kill. We're going to exchange both of our weapons for his concussion rifle and one of these carbines in this crate. So we have a full carbine, and we have a concussion rifle, and we're going to move on to the next part of the mission. You could inch forward and despawn these guys as well. You could go all the way back, but I'm just going to headshot these 3 grunts in the little area here. It is a little risky because at least one of them has a fuel rod, so they could take you out in one hit with that, but if you just inch your way around the corner there and then just take them out with some headshots, you should be good to go. But however you dealt with those 3 grunts, we're going to move up along the right side here, and then we're just going to double back, and you can see we spawned in all the enemies, or most of the enemies in this section, and we're just going to run backwards and despawn them in the exact same way that we did for the first group of enemies. So we're just going to run over here, and I just want to show you that you want to grab carbine ammo right here from this crate, because we use some carbine ammo on those 3 grunts. So just make sure you have a full carbine for later. And now we have full carbine again, a concussion rifle, and we're just going to hop into this warthog and do that same exact trick again where we went back and jumped up to that load zone where it froze a little bit. And now I'm all the way back here. I skipped ahead because it takes a few minutes to go back and forth each time. You don't need to see it every single time. You could always rewind it and watch the first time I jumped up there. But now we're just going to run up here, and there's still additional enemies that are going to spawn in as we move forward in this section. So we're just going to jump up here, just follow this path that I take. We're going to go up to the ramp about midway. You don't even need to actually go that far to spawn everybody in. That's just where I like to go. And then we're just going to turn around once again, one more time, and despawn all these guys the super cheap way. And now we will cut ahead so you don't have to see me walk and drive all the way back and forth. We're back here now a few minutes later, and all the enemies are gone. So we're going to climb up to the top of this area one more time, and we're going to find that although there are no enemies, there's a trace of the enemies. There's the camo module from that elite, that invisible sword elite. So pick that up. It's in the middle of the area here by this door. We will move through here, and then we will be able to set up shop, because we're going to do a little bit of arts and crafts, a little bit of barricading of a door, so we could actually not have to deal with the hardest enemies in this room, which are 2 elites and 4 jackals. So we're going to run to the far right corner of this room as we enter, and there's going to be a crate, which we're going to use as our first crate of 3 that we're going to set up. Really 5 structures over here, though, but 3 of them are these type of crates. So we're just going to hit the right side of it. You want to melee the right side, and that will get it to rotate backwards. And instead of kind of knocking it over, and making it harder to deal with. It just rotates it and pushes it backwards. So try to just hit the corners of these crates when you're just trying to push them backwards, because we do want them to be upright. So if you do knock it over, that's okay. Just knock it back up, and you want to make sure that the wider side is down below, because that makes it much more stable rather than it being upside down and kind of balancing on the skinnier top, which makes it more susceptible to falling over when it gets meleeed or a nade hits it or the enemy fires at it. But you can see we put that first crate in the left side of that door, so we're going to move over here now and grab one of these 2 other crates, and we're going to melee this over towards the ramp in the back here, and then we're going to use the concussion rifle. Once we place the crate at the bottom of the ramp here, we'll use this to shoot right before. You don't want to shoot the crate itself. You want to shoot right in front of the crate, and that will propel it upwards up this ramp, and then we'll be able to move this into the right side of the door frame. So we put the first crate on the left side. We're going to put this second crate on the right side, and you can see when the crate falls over like this, you could still knock it back upwards so it's standing upright. Just kind of smack it from the other side, and it will tip it back upright. You can see I didn't really have a strategy when it came to smacking this thing initially. I just wanted to get it in the general area that it needs to be, but now we need to tip it back upright by kind of smacking it like I've described. And now that it's back upright, we could start smacking it in the side again, which will get it to rotate like we did for that first crate. So this is looking pretty good. We have the 2 crates here snugly in the sides of the door frame here, but we need one more crate, which we're going to grab right here. This we'll put in the middle so we kind of block that gap that's in between the first and second crate. So we're just going to bring this over here now, and we'll be able to place this one nicely right in the center. Just like this, you can see the crates kind of form a little triangle, and they are nice and snug up against that door, and they're not perfectly symmetrical, but that's okay. We're going to reinforce this position later. We're going to walk down here to this crate over here, which has a bunch of carbine ammo. We actually want to reposition this crate to the other side of the room, because that's where we're going to hold out with our carbine and take out a couple elites along with a bunch of grunts and jackals. So we're going to want our carbine ammo over there. So we're just going to smack this over there. We'll position this crate at the bottom of this ramp, and then we'll be able to use the concussion rifle to blast it upwards. And then you just want it in this general area over on this side. You don't need to place it in any particular spot. I like it right about there. So now we're going to move over towards this object. We're going to use this object along with an identical one to reinforce the barricade we made on that door when we first got into this room. So blast this down. You could smack it down. You don't need to throw a grenade to dislodge it or anything, but it just speeds it up a little bit. So now we don't really need our concussion rifle anymore. We could just kind of use it as we see fit, as we want to now. So we're going to smack this thing. You can see I'm crouched at this point, and I'm kind of hitting the top middle of the kind of cube-like rectangle, whatever that term is. But you can see now we've approached our first ramp with this thing, and I just want to show you how to knock this upper ramp without a concussion rifle or explosion. So you can see I'm hitting it up like I was moving it, and that kind of gets it to rock backwards and then fall down the rest of the way, so it's tough to get it up that way. But if you hit one side of it and rotate it 90 degrees, it will position it like so, where you're able to just kind of crouch and hit it in the bottom side, and this will push it upwards, and it has no danger of rolling backwards and then, you know, kind of nulling your entire progress with this ramp. So we're going to just continue doing this. You could use the concussion rifle. I just wanted to show you this method in case you ran out of concussion rifle and nades, and then you have no way of using an explosion or anything to get this up. But you could easily get this up. It just takes more time with the method shown here. But you can see I skipped ahead once again, and I now have this cube tangle type object in the back here by this barricade with these 3 crates that I was making in the beginning. And I'm just going to rotate this so it kind of forms a V. It's going to end up forming a V at the end of this when it's all said and done. So I'm just going to kind of make this snug up against the left side here. So I'm going to push it up so that one side of this cube tangle is touching the wall over here, and the other side is kind of pointing outwards, which is going to end up being the bottom of the V shape. Of course, we need one more of these cube tangles to make that V shape, so you know what I'm talking about. You could probably see where I'm going with this. I'm going to place the other cube tangle on the other side, so it kind of forms that V shape up against those 3 crates, so it makes a nice and snug barricade. We're going to go over there now. It's on the other side of the other one where we found the other one, so you can see it's right up here, and we're just going to blast this down with whatever we want. You could smack it, you could concussion rifle it, you could grenade it, whatever you want to do, but we're going to end up placing this on the right side of the crates, the formation we just made, where you likely guessed it was going, so just make it nice and snug. There's no such thing as too snug, so get it nice and snug in there. You really want to make sure you have these 2 cube tangles set up there. I know it seems like it's enough with just those 3 crates, but they could become dislodged easily by elites firing at the crates, and then they kind of get toppled over. But we now want to go grab a fresh plasma pistol, so instead of the concussion rifle, which might be empty at this point, grab a full plasma pistol from that crate, and we also have a full carbine, and we can now finally go to this nav point and activate this console, which has been lit up on our HUD for a while now, so I'm just going to speed this part up. I go to the right side first. You could go to the left or right. We're going to go to the right side where we set up our carbine crate, activate this, and you can see the platform start sinking, but you can actually jump up onto the bridge that we kind of span to get over here, and we'll be able to stay up on the high ground instead of going down towards the lower area, which gives us a great advantage, a great spot to set up and just take out all these grunts and jackals in the area. You can see there were 3 grunts on the left side. You want to take out those guys first, and then you could focus on the enemies on the right side. There's going to be 3 or 4 more grunts down below in the central area, and there's 2 jackals across the way along with 2 elites. So take out the grunts and jackals. As we know from the previous mission, the jackals like to hold up their shields, and once they are up, they don't like to put their shields down until you kind of back away and hide for a little bit, and then after a little bit of time, they will lower their shields again, and then you could poke your head out and try to pop them in the head before they put their shield up once more. So once most of the enemies are cleared out except for the 2 elites, you want to go over here and fill up your carbine ammo. We have a carbine over here on the ground in addition to the crate we brought over here, which we're going to need because these elites take a lot of shots from these carbines. So we have 1 jackal left over there in addition to the 2 elites. So now we could focus on the 2 remaining elites. And you can see this one down here in this pit type area. He's usually down there. Sometimes he's kind of up the ramps right behind him towards his right, our left. But either way, you just want to start laying into him with this carbine. And he doesn't do a great job of ducking behind cover. He'll kind of duck and dodge to the left or the right, but he doesn't really do a good job of actually going anywhere that's going to be useful to his cause. He just kind of jumps to the left or jumps to the right, and that's it. That's all the effort he puts in. And in the meantime, we could still just continue shooting him. So just kind of be patient. You can see we finally took him out there, and now we will go back and grab more carbine ammo from that crate we brought over, in addition to this 1 line on the ground. This 1 line on the ground probably won't be enough, though, which is why we brought the crate over, because they take a lot of shots, as you can see just happened. So now we're going to focus on the one in the distance, and he's going to be just as bad at dodging these things as the other one was. He's a little tougher because he's in the distance, but we're going to skip ahead, and even though it's a little tougher because he's a little further away, it's not very hard because he doesn't really do a good job of finding cover. Once that elite is dead, we will fill up our carbine and we'll head to the next nav point to activate that pylon as well. And I should mention, if you didn't know, that these actually take down your shield. So even if you took no damage so far, once you activate one of those pylons, it drains your shields entirely, which is annoying on LASO because obviously we can't get our shield back up unless we smack somebody. So we're going to just take out these guys, focus on the ones on the right first, and then you could kind of move across towards the middle and the left side of the big room here. And you can see there's a bunch of grunts and jackals. That's all we have to deal with. You want to kill the ones that are closest to you first, and you want to try to save 1 grunt that has a plasma pistol for the end, because you want to be able to smack somebody to get your shield back. We could save that for later, and it's not the biggest deal in the world if you actually end up finishing this room with no shield. We could get it back later, but obviously it's preferable if we actually get our shield back sooner rather than later. So you can see we're just clearing out all these enemies, and again, you want to try to save 1 grunt with a plasma pistol so you could smack him later. If he has a needler, he's much more dangerous, and it's tougher to close in on him without him shooting you and blowing you up. So you could take a lot more shots from a plasma pistol than a needler, and sometimes a grunt will actually come up towards you once you've cleared out a handful of enemies. You can see this guy's waltzing up here. Sometimes he comes all the way up to the level we're at, but this time he decided to go back down. So I'm just going to meet him halfway here, and we'll smack him, get our shield back. And that nade he threw bounced back and almost landed on us. That would have been really annoying, but we're going to move over here now. I think there's only 2 jackals left over here, so we'll be able to take these guys out from a distance. You don't want to get too close because we have this fresh new shield that we do not want to damage. The return policy for this shield is pretty awful. It's 0-day, no money back policy. It's awful. Once again, filling up on our ammo at this carbine crate, and now we will head over towards that door that we barricaded. You can see the door is actually up now, and that's where enemies would actually pour in from. But since those barricades are in place, they will not actually move out of that, and it makes it a lot easier to kill those guys because there's 2 elites and 4 jackals. But mostly, we want to barricade that door because of the 2 elites, because they actually are much tougher to take out than those other elites we took out in this room. So we're going to go over here, and you can actually hop up onto these slanted areas of these structures on the side of the room here, and you'll be able to get a nice vantage point into the room there. I'm sliding off of these, but I promise you could stay up here. And you could see their heads poking out over the barricades now, and you could just kind of pepper them from afar with your plasma pistol. And you don't want to use an overcharge burst, and you don't want to shoot too quickly because it will actually overcharge, overheat, and you'll have to wait for that to dissipate. So just kind of pepper them slowly but surely. You can see he's looking at us now, and he's actually firing at that crate, and that crate would become dislodged if we didn't put those cubectangular objects on the left and right side of those. So it's a nice, very strong structure, and we'll be able to just safely be over here and take these guys out. Eventually, you'll probably run out of plasma pistol, but in that case, just switch to your carbine and finish them off that way. So we know that works. The elites aren't always in the same exact spot as they are right here, so you may need to reposition, but it's easy enough. You could use one of the different structures, one of the different slanted areas on the left side here that I'm on. You could actually go up towards these cubectangular objects and hop up on these. And this is actually how I'm going to take out the jackals, because they're not as tall as the elites, so you can't really see them from the vantage point we had earlier. So hop up on these, and you could see just over the crates here and shoot them in the head. And oftentimes they'll be facing away from you for whatever reason. They like to stare at the opposite wall, so you could actually jump in there and backsmack them if you're feeling brave. Or if you didn't get your shield back yet, that's actually a good spot to do it. Just kind of kill the 2 elites and whittle it down so there's only 1 jackal, and then you could take that jackal out with some smacks and get your shield back. And then we're going to go over here one more time to this carbine crate, grab the carbine ammo so we have a full carbine, and also exchange your plasma pistol. So we have full ammo, we have a full shield, we have full plasma grenades probably because they're lying all over the place, and if you didn't use any frags yet, you have full frags. So we're going to activate the console at that nav point and get warped to this area after a cutscene, and then we will be able to open this door, just move ahead, and then we're going to stand to the side of it and wait for the phantom that drops off a bunch of enemies. Just wait for that to go away, because he will actually start shooting at you. He has a bunch of turrets, and he will tear into your shields, and once you move through this door, it closes and you can't come back in here, so you're kind of a sitting duck up here. But once we do move forward, we can start taking out the enemies in the distance. You can see there's a handful of grunts and jackals. You don't need to take out those guys, or any of these guys actually, but it just makes it a lot safer and more likely that you're going to make it to the end of the bridge without losing your shield or without dying. So take out these guys slowly and surely, like we've been doing, like we know how to do. Just headshot the grunts, and then there's 5 enemies right below you down here, so very close to you, there's going to be 2 jackals and 3 grunts. Make sure you take out those guys. Those are actually the biggest priority when it comes to not losing your shield. So once you step on this circular elevator, it actually starts going down, so you want to be aware of that. More than once, I was just focused solely on killing all these enemies in front of me, and I stepped on the elevator, not intending for myself to descend. And then I started going down, and I couldn't get back up, and it was a whole mess. So just make sure when you step on that, you are aware it's going to go down, so you could jump up and back onto this area if you want to stay up here. You want to fall down to the right over here and try to break your fall with something, because there is fall damage in this game, and you don't want to take unnecessary damage. But we're going to run up along the right side, and then we're going to cut into the right. There's going to be a little bit of running and gunning here. Keep moving forward no matter what happens, but normally those 2 grunts and 1 jackal are running away from you, so you could backsmack them for shields. Then head up the right side and be ready to zoom and headshot the beam rifle jackal that pops out. Then head down here, and normally these guys are in front of you with their backs to you like in the previous section, but these guys once again have other plans, so just keep running and gunning. And instead of sticking to the right side, we're actually going to cut across to the left side at this point. And once we get to the top of this ramp, we want to cloak ourselves and crouch, and we want to hug the right side while we're cloaked and crouching, and we want to just crouch walk all the way up to this banshee. Sometimes these jackals see you, sometimes they don't. If they do see you, you could take the opportunity to shoot them in the head so they don't shoot you. You could also smack them for shields if they get too close, but hop into the banshee as soon as you can. Follow this path, and there's going to be an elite with a concussion rifle that pops out of the left side of the wall. Sometimes he already is popped out, and you want to try to splatter him with the banshee and then quickly bail out and run through this hallway. You want to zigzag through this hallway so you don't get hit by a nade or a concussion rifle, but move up to this door. It will open up, and we're going to run forward, and we're going to smack this first grunt that we see with a back smack to get our shields back. Try to do the quick back smack instead of going into this animation, but then go behind these pillars on the right and cloak yourself. Get ready to overcharge plasma pistol the ghost to stun it, and then wait a second before sprinting towards it to board it, because you don't want to be in a stunned ghost. And then after boarding it, you want to wait a couple seconds before boosting while moving in this direction, because when you hijack a vehicle, the boost charge is very low, so you want to allow it to charge a bit. But now that I'm boosting, you want to aim for the elite in the middle of this hallway and try to avoid the grunts on the right side, because oftentimes at least one of them will turn into a suicide grunt once the elite is killed. At this point, you just want to mop up any remaining enemies. They all ended up getting killed by the suicide grunt this time around, which is good. You want to try to find the concussion rifle from that elite you just killed, and you don't want to move any further into this structure. You want to go back out. We're going to grab our ghost. We have a carbine and a concussion rifle that we just picked up with this ghost. And as you make your way back out here, you'll notice that all of the enemies that were here have been despawned, so we don't have to deal with any of those guys. There is one elite up on the second level there, so you can see he's kind of above where we went into that structure before we came back out, and we're just going to lay into him with our carbine. You don't need to kill him, but it makes it a lot easier for this jump we're going to do, so just kind of hang out here. This guy is a little tougher than the other elites we took out because he is a little further away and dodges around, and there's a crate he sometimes gets behind, but oftentimes he will just pop right back out. He doesn't actually hide behind it. He just kind of walks behind it and then walks right back out. So just use the carbine crate right there as you need it. And now we'll move up. There's 2 ways I'm going to show you how to get up and despawn the remainder of the enemies and just move on to the end of the mission with no resistance at all. So jump up here, and you can see in the middle of this slanted area, there's kind of a line, a dark line in the middle, and we're going to jump up to the railing up there. So just run, jump, and shoot the ground below you with the concussion rifle. That will propel you up onto this railing, and then you can proceed towards the end of the mission and just finish with no enemies. And the other way to do it, if you lose the concussion rifle, you could always just hop onto this rock, hop up onto this railing. It's a little tougher. You need to jump onto the top of the railing, not just the slanted part of the railing. So if you just hit the slanted part, you'll slide back down. You need to land on the flat surface above on top. On top of it being tougher is you actually spawn in those 3 additional enemies, but that's actually not really an issue at all. Just sprint past them. They become startled and don't shoot at you, and you just keep on going. And from here on out, there are no more enemies for this mission, so we're just going to go through these doors up ahead, go through the hallway. It will lead us to an elevator. I skipped ahead. We are now on the elevator. It will fade to black, give you a cutscene, and that's the end of Requiem. I will see you for the next mission, Forerunner. Thanks for watching, guys. If you found that video helpful, be sure to click on the scorpion icon to subscribe and hit that bell for notifications. You can also check out some related guides by clicking on the videos on screen, and you can find links in the description for other social media links of mine. Stay tuned for more Halo guides, and I'll see you in the next one.